Are you having a challenge growing your startup? Well, in this video, I am going to show you a process that we use to close more sales and kickstart your growth. I'm Rob Kinch, and welcome to Get More Sales Academy. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified every time we post a video that teaches you how to close more business. We've leveraged this approach to help more than 50 companies close more sales, and some of them have doubled their revenue within 90 days. As an entrepreneur, I'm sure you've got a wonderful product. You've created a very unique solution. Here's one of the challenges we find. Most entrepreneurs will go out and just start pitching that product, assuming everyone will want the product just as much as they do. That they'll buy into it. They'll buy into your baby, and your baby is beautiful. And it's in our experience that most people and customers, prospects, investors, when they take a look at your product, they're probably not as in love with it as you are. And that causes a challenge. Let me ask you, how about you? Have you been pitching your product? Have you ever noticed, what did it feel like when someone was pitching their product to you? And go ahead and leave some comments in the space below, and we'll get back to you. We want to hear your stories. We want to hear what you've experienced. So what have you found? Have you found that there's lots of people willing to talk to you, but not many people are buying? Have you hit a revenue ceiling? So you've gone through all your friends and family and close acquaintances that have been your first customers, and now you need to sell more. Now that you have to sell, maybe you don't know where to start. I'm going to talk to you about a process that, if you understand it, will help you close more sales. We like to call it the buyer's journey. So the buyer's journey is a 7-step process that prospects go through mentally and emotionally as they converse with you about buying your solution. And that journey starts with a concept we call your value message. The first step in the buyer's journey is your value message creates curiosity. Value message creates curiosity. What do we mean by value message? Well, we see a lot of people pitching their product. And even if you're a salesperson working for an entrepreneur, I'm sure you spend a lot of time talking, pitching, telling people all about the features of your product. And really, people don't care. They don't care at all about what you've got, what it does. What they care about is what it does for them. You have to speak to the value that you're delivering to that prospect or to that customer, and that value needs to be messaged in a short, concise way so that it creates the first thing that we talk about, which is curiosity. People do not want to talk to you unless they're curious about what you have to say. And it's that value message that you provide, that you present to them, that's what creates curiosity. So you have to get your value message out there, and you have to define it. And it's really from your customer's perspective, not your perspective. We see that's a big mistake a lot of companies make. You're selling your value based on what you think is valuable, not what your customers think is valuable. So you have to present that value message based on what your customers think is valuable. Now, once you've defined your value message and you've created it, it's got to be around 8 seconds to 10 seconds long. And in there, it's going to provide glimpses of value that you might be able to deliver to that prospect or customer. Those glimpses of value start step 2 in the buyer's journey, which is curiosity creates buying signals. A buying signal is actually a connection that that prospect has made with you to your value message. That's that buying signal, and it's in the form of a question. So you may present your value message. And a value message, we have one customer that has a solution for poultry, and their value message is we provide lighting systems that will increase your poultry production and lower your operating costs. It's that simple. And really that statement creates triggers. It provides glimpses of value into what they can do for that customer. Glimpses of value meaning lower your operating costs or increasing your poultry production. So a buying signal might be, how do you do that? How do you increase my poultry production? You now have a connection. You now have permission to start having a conversation with that prospect. Once you have a buying signal, in other words, they've asked you that question, you now begin a sales conversation. And that sales conversation has to be a conversation. It can't be just pitching. Once they respond and they ask you a question, you can't just start pitching to them. You can't just say, well, let me tell you what it does. It does this, it washes your floors, it does everything. You can't start pitching. You have to start engaging by asking questions. And that's the beginning of your sales conversation. Step 1, your value message creates curiosity. Step 2, your curiosity creates buying signals. Step 3, buying signals start the sales conversation. So now you can start having a conversation about how you can help them achieve the value that you've presented. Step 4, your sales conversation has to uncover urgency. If there is no urgency, they will not buy from you. And in your conversation, your objective is to uncover and see if there's urgency. You have to have urgency in order to have enough desire from your prospect to buy from you, to actually give you an order. So urgency is crucial. And we see many sales situations go sideways or take forever because we haven't uncovered that there's an urgent situation. Just because you want them to buy it doesn't mean they're going to. They have to have urgency. The next step in the sales process is urgency triggers emotion. We have to remember that people buy from people, okay? People buy from people they know and trust. And so people are emotional. And so when there's urgency, that individual you're talking to is going to have an emotional reaction to that urgency. And it's up to us as salespeople or as owners or entrepreneurs to make sure that we're pulling the emotion out of the urgency by asking questions. For example, are you happy with that? Does that frustrate you? Does not having X, Y, Z cause you a headache, right? Dealing with that emotional part of the conversation. That's where the connection comes from. It's creating that emotion as you uncover urgency. Step 6, emotion is justified by logic. This is the point where someone is going to now, they've bought into what you're saying, they've bought into the value that you're delivering, but now they want to justify it. They want to justify it with logic. What does that mean? Well, it's a couple things. It means that they're looking for proof. They're looking for, who have you done it for? Who else is doing this? They're trying to validate that it works, okay? The next part is they're actually going to go through a logical process now of how do we make this and place this order? How do we do this and buy from you? So emotion is justified by logic. That's what we have a saying. Imagine, I know I had when I was in my early 20s, I had an opportunity to buy a car. then I bought a Civic CRX SI, two-seater, red, had a sunroof. It was amazing. And I got emotional over it. I just pictured, I test drove it. It was had a 5-speed. It was like driving a go-kart. And so how did I justify it with logic? Well, the salesman said, well, do you know what? You can get this for only $400 a month. And I thought, perfect, I can afford that. So keep in mind that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to justify it with logic, and you have to be prepared. The final step is, like I said, that logic, once they've gone through the validation, test it, that's what secures your order. How do you close more business? How do you close more sales? You understand the buyer's journey. If you're struggling with closing more sales, then send us a message. My email is at the description below, rob@getmoresales.academy. If you're not comfortable with that, then go ahead and download our ebook, 7 Laws That Will Make Sales Easy. It's called Sales Made Easy for Entrepreneurs. And that's in the description below as well. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.